John Defterios joins us now with the very latest from Riyadh. And John, I know for you especially, it's been a fascinating day just to kind of see how all this has unfolded. And they have done quite a job of salvaging what they assumed would be a real bust.
Well, in fact, the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, who you talked about there, Paula, was steadfast in his determination not to delay this. Some were suggesting early 2019, after the investigations of Jamal Khashoggi was over, would be better. But he declined to take that offer. This is a very small event compared to 2017, though. They lost almost 1,000 attendees. 38 listers dropped off the list. They have about 60 less speakers, but they got a lot of regional support today. King Abdullah of Jordan escorted in Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, into the hall. MBS only stayed for about 15 minutes, but the impact was strong. He actually toured the main hall while we were on the air, and all kinds of cameras going up, taking selfies. The ruler of Dubai, who's also the Prime Minister of the UAE, came in with a large delegation. The neighborly backing, suggesting we do support you despite this cloud of uncertainty and the investigations taking place in Turkey. I posed that question to Amin Nasser, who's the CEO of Aramco, saying, how can you move ahead with an investment summit with all this taking place in the backdrop? This is what he had to say.
Everybody here feels sorry for the death of Jamal Khashoggi. We feel sorry also for his family and what happened. But at the end of the day, you know, we need to move beyond that. It happens. The kingdom recognize what happened and taking steps to make sure it will be addressed through the legal system that exists within the country in dealing with the people that committed this crime.
What has the death of Jamal Khashoggi, though, done to Saudi Inc., the brand of Saudi Arabia, and the willingness for people to invest into the country as you look to diversify?
We need to keep up our investment. We have the global economy depends a lot on what we do here in terms of availing crude to our customers globally. And what we are doing is making sure that we are ready. We have the right investments. Our strategy continue to be the same. We are availing crude, chemicals, products from our different plants to different customers. But this is something that will continue.
The high-profile CEOs, especially the bankers, decided to not come to Riyadh for this investment summit. But I see bankers all over the place. The regional CEOs are high-level executives. Is business still being done behind the scenes when it comes to Aramco, for example?
You see in the audience, we have a lot of people. We have a lot of meetings. With
Western bankers are here.
Well, a lot of, you know, of our partners, let me put it that way, are here. The one that...
Once again, Amin Nasser, the CEO of Saudi Aramco, they're talking about an IPO perhaps in 2020, 2021. We talked about the bankers, Paul. It was interesting. HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank. I noticed they were all here, just not the major CEOs. So they were doing the transactions. The one criticism, perhaps, is $50 billion of MOUs today that you talked about in the lead-in there. $34 billion went to energy. So they're trying to diversify outside of energy. But at the end of the day, it's a major oil producer. The banks want to be in, and so do the investors in this space.
Yeah, it was so insightful to hear from you, John, the fact that, look, the number twos, the number threes are there. The CEOs made the grand gesture, but everybody else is there on site. You were just talking about energy. Total here, the French company, taking a completely different approach.
Well, you know, I think Total's an interesting case study, and so is Steve Mnuchin. But let's start with Patrick Pouyanné of Total. Joe Kaiser of Siemens made it very clear he wrestled over the decision whether to come or not and decided not to, maybe coming with pressure from Angela Merkel of Germany, of course. Although Emmanuel Macron of France, condemnation of Saudi Arabia over the weekend in this joint statement that was put out. Patrick Pouyanné, and I grabbed him in the hall and I said, do you want to talk? He says, no interviews, but why wouldn't I be here? I have a better than $8 billion deal with Saudi Aramco, and I need to support the Saudi people. The investigation continues. Brief words, but very prescient. And Steve Mnuchin, I thought it was amazing, Paula, that last Thursday, the great hullabaloo at the White House saying, I'm not going to be going to Riyadh, not going to the Future Investment Initiative. Lo and behold, on Monday, he met with Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, saying the dialogue was important. We have to stay engaged. And the bottom line narrative that Donald Trump wants to maintain his contracts, inflating the employment numbers, but they want to stay engaged with Saudi Arabia until the investigation is done. They have business interests and regional interests, and that was crystal clear with the visit by Mnuchin here to Riyadh on Monday.
Yeah, John, and you're best placed to answer this question. I mean, look, a lot of countries here are grappling with the fact that they don't want to do anything that really is not in the best interest of their citizens, of their companies, of the voters, quite frankly. You know, I know that you follow this so closely. Some people would say it is better to be in country and have the influence. And even Europeans and European companies would point to Iran. And the fact that, look, if we're there and we have influence, we have a more credible voice on human rights. Has there been a lot of discussion about that and the fact that that's why you stay engaged with Saudi Arabia?
Well, you know, Saudi Arabia is a very big player, both in outbound investment, particularly going into the United States. And you talked about the SoftBank Vision Fund, Blackstone with its infrastructure fund. That's one part of the puzzle. Well, I took a deep dive last week before I came out to Saudi Arabia. We're looking at $1.4 trillion of infrastructure spending that's on the cards. 455 or 56 billion has already been earmarked and out there. If you're in that space, like a Siemens or a GE or Total and petrochemicals, how do you avoid Saudi Arabia? And the argument that Pouyanné was making to me today is like it's better to be engaged. Even Joe Kaiser said that in his statement. I'd rather be engaged, but the political pressure is very hard. So you can see them trying to strike the balance. Saudi Arabia is a major player all the way around because it's the #1 oil exporter in the world. It will remain that way, Paul, even though the rise of U.S. shale is there in the United States, counterbalancing the three major producers, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the U.S.